All right. Okay, guys. So thanks for everybody that's being on and watching this today. I've got a great guest today. You know, my company's Path to Pro, and I got a pro here that I, by accident, met through Facebook. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Rob. And so let me give you his bio first, because this is going to be exciting. In his current role as executive director at Chick-fil-A, Rob is responsible for strategically shaping and executing leadership initiatives. The position allows Rob to apply his intensive leadership experience to a dynamic, impactful organization. Chick-fil-A, and you guys, I'm sure you've been there. With over 25 years of leadership experience, Rob has a wealth of knowledge and expertise. Rob has spoken to various companies, churches throughout the United States, Canada, Africa. Along with his role at Chick-fil-A, Rob also consults with and coaches various businesses, individuals, churches through Rob Huffman Coaching and Consulting. So, Rob, thanks for being on. I really appreciate it. And you know, the way this thing happened, I'm driving around going, why is that line at Chick-fil-A is there? And you could look across the street and go, no line, lots of line, very nice people, not nice people. And then here's Rob. I said, I got to talk to a guy that can give me some answers to this. And that, you know, I think it was a divine intervention here that Rob is now with us. And so, Rob, tell us a little bit. Thank you for being here, and tell us a little bit about how you got involved, because you got a crazy story in how you got involved with Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Bill. It
Yeah.
is my pleasure to be here,
Very good.
and obviously nice to be with all of your guests. And yeah, so I've been at Chick-fil-A a few years. I was a former pastor and executive pastor, and came to Chick-fil-A because, think about this, my entire family has worked at Chick-fil-A. A lot of them still work there, but started with my father-in-law 15 years ago working at Chick-fil-A. And then my oldest son is now going on year 7. My middle son is going on year 6. My youngest son worked there, and my wife is currently the HR director. We call it talent director at Chick-fil-A. So it's funny because I tell people I am the last convert. And so I am working. I am working for a great friend of mine who actually got to meet through our church, and it's a blessing to work with him. He not only is he truly a great friend of mine, but a great business owner, a great business mind. I've learned so much from him. And so, yeah, that's how I got the Chick-fil-A. Funny little story that I'm kind of the last convert.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So you guys don't get sick of Chick-fil-A then, I guess, or you still bring some home?
Matter of fact, today was a day off for me. Guess where I went for lunch?
Oh yeah, there you go, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Okay,
There's so many options, dietary options, salads, wraps, sandwiches, stuff like that. It's great. Obviously, Chick-fil-A's got some of the best food ever.
yeah, no, it's great. So your background prior to this was what? Before you got involved with Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, it was ministry, but my degree is actually in business and professional golf management. So believe it or not, I actually went to school, went to business school with the intention of running country clubs. So in my background, I've got experience doing country club management, food and beverage, golf and tennis. And then my degree is in business and professional golf management. Believe it or not, I had my PGA teaching card for 6 years, and
Wow.
I'm a byproduct of the PGA of America Business School, and went through 2 of those. Actually got my degree in 1996, and then went into the ministry, and then went in youth ministry, was a senior pastor, and then an executive pastor for years as well. So I have a passion not only for people, but also for business.
Yeah, and what's great about this, I didn't mention this, but you're right in my own backyard. So you're in Virginia Beach, which is exciting because with all that experience, and you know, why I wanted to talk to you was because of the issues that I see in just across the street. You know, you have one company that does it and one company that doesn't have it, or I think at one time had it and lost it. Why, you know, as you evaluate, you know, from your past experiences to right now, what makes Chick-fil-A so good at what they do from your observation point now?
Yeah. First of all, I really can't take hardly any credit for Chick-fil-A success. I mean, this company
Right.
was built decades ago on Truett Cathy, our founder. And one of the things I would say that makes Chick-fil-A, obviously we have great food. We have great people. We have a great culture. But here's the one thing that I really think sets Chick-fil-A apart from everybody else, despite the food, all those other things that we just mentioned, is obviously in business, and obviously with our audience we're talking to today, we make money through transactions. Money changes hands, transactions, people spend money, we make money. Here's where I think Chick-fil-A changes the game for all businesses is, yes, we do transactions. We have to do transactions. However, I think we look at transactions as also being transformational. Our corporate mission is to be the world's most caring company. Now you bring that down into our local mission. So I have the pleasure of being executive director at Chick-fil-A Salem Crossing and Chick-fil-A Parkway Plaza. And if you bring that down to a local mission, our mission at Chick-fil-A Salem Crossing and also Chick-fil-A Parkway Plaza is to make people's lives better. To make people's lives better. Now, you think about the difference from the transaction to the transformational, or we'll call it relational. I think where Chick-fil-A, obviously our systems and our processes, and you mentioned drive-through wrapped around the building. And the funny thing is, you see the drive-through wrapped around the building, but it goes so fast.
It does. It really does.
But I think the thing that really sets Chick-fil-A apart is the culture that we create of making people's lives better. So taking the transformational part of this and adding it to the transaction. And I think where we talk about to our listeners today is we have to do transactions. That's obviously the way that we make money. Everything's based on a transaction in business, but taking the transaction to more of a transformation, say, hey, how can I make this person's life better? And seeing things through those lenses. The way that I smiled or didn't smile, did it make this person's life better? The food that we produced, did it make somebody's life better? The way I had patience with that person when maybe they've had a bad day coming into a restaurant, has it made their life better? And so the lens that we run things through at Salem Crossing and Parkway Plaza is simply this, is our job is to make people's lives better, and our role in the restaurant is how we do it.
Does that follow through to the employees, that same type of mantra and that belief?
Absolutely. And so one of the things that we do at Chick-fil-A, which I just think is amazing, is we actually have a full-time paid care team. Now, this care team is something, it's care for the guest, but it's also care for the team members. To give you an example, is right now we are actually in a little season called 12 Days of Cheer. And so we do things every single day to add value to our team members. We do something, maybe one day we bring them up, maybe one day it's handwritten cards. 4 times a year, we write everybody in our organization handwritten cards. And there's 200 employees or more that I have the privilege to oversee. But that care team, also, they are responsible for creating that culture of making people's lives better, not only for the guests, and we can talk about some ways we do that, but also for the team members. And so every single month, we have something that is strictly designed to make our team members' lives better. That could be handwritten cards. It could be a party. It could be something else that we design, sunshine days, things like that. So I say this, the thing that sets Chick-fil-A apart is the culture that we create around transformation, the care and the part. And, people don't see this until you actually see it work, because we think profit, but really when you create a great culture and you create transformation in the team, that will eventually go into the guest or to the client or to the customer, because then that culture wears off into a positive experience or a positive guest experience in our restaurants.
Yeah, and you could see over the years, having 6 kids myself and going to fast food a lot when they were little, is how some companies started that way, but it didn't stay with the company. It kind of like watered down and then it went away. So it sounds like what you do in the care teams keeps that alive, right? That's a specific role or a system or process that keeps this culture alive, and makes it consistent in all the different locations. And so I think that's incredible. And then the leadership side of it for you is these managers that are inside of these locations, let's say in the 1 to 2 locations that you have, how do they buy into this? I mean, what do you do to the leadership to continue to keep them in that same mindset, that same process of, the caring and what you said here, the making people's lives better? Because, they're humans. They're going to kind of fall here and there. How do you keep that going with leadership?
Yeah, we do that a few different ways. One of the big ways we do it is through what's called the Chick-fil-A check-in. And so every week I record a 4 to 5 minute video that is outputted to every single team member. And so we actually pay them on the clock to watch the Chick-fil-A check-in. And so some of that, when we create culture, they hear it from me or I'll interview somebody. That's one way. Another way is through our manager meetings that we have every 2 weeks. And we talk about culture and we talk about what's going on in the restaurant. Now we talk things about profitability. We talk about customer service and guest experience and those type of things. But also inside those meetings is I will do a little segment, or the restaurant director will do a segment on the culture. And so something that we like to do is every single month is we have what's called culture heroes. So from each one of our restaurants, we divide the restaurant up into back of house and front of house. Right. So for each of our restaurants, there is a back of house culture hero and a front of house culture hero. And they go on the community board. So it is voted on by their peers, by the management, and it's somebody who has really fulfilled the role of culture hero, which takes place in one of our 6 core values, which is excellence, growth, professionalism, teamwork, ownership, and fun. And so we say the why behind what we do is to make people's lives better. The values are the how. So the why is to make people's lives better. And then the how is done through the values. And so when we talk about that culture, is every time you walk by a community board in one of our restaurants, there's a culture hero. Matter of fact, there's 2 culture heroes. And it'll have their favorite core value. It'll have a little question for them. It's got their picture. And they get an Amazon gift card to spend. They get celebrated on our social media channels, and they get celebrated in a text message for all of the team members to see. And then we celebrate them. And so what my philosophy is this, it's that which gets rewarded gets repeated. So I am trying to create a culture of repeatability when it comes to the values that we set. So we do that through the managers, because ultimately, with the team members that I oversee, I can't touch every single team member. It's just impossible. So I do that through the restaurant directors, and the restaurant directors have managers, and then the managers obviously oversee the team members. So we do things like that. We do output through video. We do every day. We have threads that we work in, communication threads that we're saying, hey, today's a focus. Let's look at this as far as our guest experience. We do output via text message, culture heroes. And then even at the Christmas party, we give away superlatives based on some of our values. And so we really ingrain the culture of making people's lives better through almost everything that we do.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Because there are some companies that do that, and it unfortunately becomes lip service and it's not passed down. So you have a mechanism and a way of helping these leadership to be able to pass it down and give them the tools they need. Because these are young managers too. They haven't been around in life that long. And then something else came up when you were talking about that. And this is to the agents that are out there listening. Think about, what if we did that with clients? Because Chick-fil-A did the commercial. They highlighted certain clients and what that Chick-fil-A person did for that client. And I think because home ownership and the American dream is kind of watered down a little bit, and everybody's a little nervous about what's going on with the market. But if we ingrain something like this into this industry a little bit more, could that help in getting not just more clients, but just the whole process becomes even better for the real estate agent and for the client. And now hey, Bob Jones or Tom Smith down the street who did something great. I just want to share that with you. Gosh, I could almost see this being something that could be brought into something like that. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, because I think that may be something too, following a Chick-fil-A format.
I think it's a great idea. Let me tell you kind of how this works is when you're dealing with loan officers or you're dealing with real estate agents, the biggest form of marketing and advertising and brand is word of mouth. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of friends who are real estate agents, loan officers, and they will tell you a bad experience is really a game changer, not in a positive way, but in a negative way. And also on the flip side of that is, if you can think about it through this lens, make people's lives better. And think about the way I communicate, and think about from your agents from this perspective. If I don't return a phone call for 8 hours, 24 hours, and somebody's stressed about whether they're selling their home, whether they're coming, whether they're going, are we making people's lives better? The way that we communicate, are we frustrated? Are we happy for the people? The way that we communicate, our tone of voice, maybe it's a smile, maybe it's a thank you. All of those type of things help make people's lives better. And you just cannot put a price on this label of making people's lives better and seeing everything. It's a transaction. Obviously, it is a transaction on the bottom line. It's a transaction, but really, you've got a chance as an agent to help somebody's life be transformed. Whether it's somebody that's trying to take a credit score from a 550 to a 650, whether it's somebody that's moving from out of town that's working on sight unseen, whether it's somebody don't know whether I need to put 20% down in order to avoid PMI insurance, whatever it is, all of these type of things, if we can think through it, hey, through this lens of my action, am I making somebody's life better? I'm telling you, it will transform the way that you do business. And in turn, the business will have more profitability if you think about it that way. But the key is to find that balance between the people and the profitability. But if you start with the lens of making people's lives better, the profitability will actually increase if you just think about it through that lens.
Yeah. And I think people can sense that if it's real or not. I mean, you could say that, but buying houses and dealing with loan officers and that, and from your own personal experience, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and there's a lot of stress. And there's a lot of anxiety because they want to buy the house, and a lot of times we forget that. And I think that needs to come back. And I hope that the people that are listening will take note of that and just be creative. Think about what you had just said, the culture heroes and the front office and the back office scenario, because you have administrative people that are going to have to set the same tone for that agent. Because if it could break down, see in your system, and I want to ask you, how does that work? Because it doesn't typically break down. And I'm actually looking to see if it's never broken down. I drive in, that person talks the same way. Actually, I was there just 2 nights ago. The girl was smiling at me and she took my card. I drove around and I'm looking at the system and the processes, and again, I don't know, we don't have to get into heavy detail, but there must be a lot of steps in the process here that's being trained for that experience. And I just wanted to know, if there are a lot of them, how do you break that down to be able to deliver that?
Yeah, well, for us, everything starts with hiring, right? Because we hire for culture. We know the people, the type of person that we're looking for. Think about this: if we're sitting across from somebody, we're saying, "Hey, does this person have the altitude, the aptitude, the emotional IQ? Do they have these things to help make people's lives better?" So when you're coming to an interview, well, there's certain things we're looking for. Can you make eye contact? Can you smile? Can you greet people? Can you have a firm handshake? Do you look professional? All of these things go in to help us designing a great culture. Because if we can hire somebody for culture on the front end, then it's a lot easier to them to acquiesce to our culture once they're actually in the building. So for us, it starts with that. And then what you see on the back end is this: you see the guest experience, but there are so many steps that took place going into that, from its interview 1 to interview 2 to our ads to the way we hire people, as far as, like I just told you, the things that we were looking for. And then here's what happens. And then when they're in the building, we start our orientation with culture, 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 culture. Our entire day 1 orientation is culture. We don't talk about chicken hardly ever. We don't talk about profitability. It's culture, culture, culture for 2 hours. Then day 2 of orientation, we get into more of the things that happen in the restaurant and things like that. But I'm telling you, we beat the culture drum. And then here's what happens. When retention increases and turnover decreases, profitability increases, because we don't have the onboarding expenses. We don't have the advertising and marketing for different roles. Our people who have been in the jobs longer do them better because they're more familiar with the role. They're more highly trained. And so for us, everything starts with culture. Because if I could keep that retention, then obviously somebody who's been doing their job longer is actually going to do a better job. They got more of the what we call our DNA culture inside of them. And then what you see on the back end of that is the guest experience. And then that turns into profitability, because you think about, if somebody's been in that position longer, then they're going to do their job, most likely they're going to do their job better and more efficiently. And so then when you see these drive-through lines and they're moving and moving, that's because you've got people out there that are really have been there for a while. They're doing their job well. We put a big emphasis on training. We have a training, full-time training coordinator. We have that. And then that just rolls into that great guest experience. So for us, it's culture, culture, culture. And you think about that, retention and everything else. And then what happens? The longer they've been in their role, the more guests that we can serve on a daily basis. Then what happens? Profitability goes up, refunds go down, happier guest experience, people return more, and then it just makes this whole 360 loop of culture and profitability a lot more effective.
Well, and you shared with me the stats compared to Chick-fil-A to the other fast food establishments in retention. Can you share that? Because that's very interesting.
Yeah, the average turnover in the restaurant business, fast food specifically, is 300% a year. And currently, Chick-fil-A here in Hampton Roads is the what we call the average is less than 100. As a matter of fact, it's quite a bit less than 100. You think about that; it all starts with the great culture, because we care. I'm telling you, one of the things that I am so proud of to be part of at Chick-fil-A, with my personal mission lining up with our mission here, is to make people's lives better. Now, you think about that when people come and they work at Chick-fil-A, and we say we want to be for our team members. And often I will say this to our restaurant, our managers, things like this, is capture the heart before you ask for the hand.
Mm.
And I want your hearers to understand that, because real estate can be so transactional. Matter of fact, you get compensated on transactions, you get compensated on closings, you get compensated on those things, and those are all great. We need those to make money. But think about this: if we were to create a culture that were for our buyers, not just in word, but also in deed and in heart. And we were to take that and we were to go, hey, we want to capture the heart before we ever ask for the hand.
So such a different perspective,
It does, but there is so it's a little bit different thinking.
Yes.
But really, I'm a big advocate of how that is supposed to work. Is there has to be a balance between people and profitability. But I think if you start with the people, you'll never lack for profit. Even to the fact of turnover, when you don't have the turnover, like we said, people are intrinsically motivated to be there. And there's a big difference between extrinsic and intrinsic.
Mm-hmm.
So extrinsic motivation is just money, 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 money. Well, what happens when the culture's bad? And there's a Barna survey out, and I would encourage people to look this up, that 72% of Gen Zers say that culture trumps money. And when I read that about a year and a half to 2 years ago, I said, I've got to really just work on, hey, creating this great culture, knowing that I will attract the people who want to be at Chick-fil-A, want to stay here, and then ultimately that will lead itself to greater profitability.
So much is going through my head as you're talking, because you have agents that want to build teams, and then they want to build that inside the team. But I think what's hitting me, right, is the display has to come out in you first to attract that person who sees that you have the heart to want to help them. I mean, I just did a statistic, just wrote it down today, and I don't know if you know this. Out of all the agents in the market, 50% of the agents sold no homes in 2024. That's a lot. And 70% of them sold less than 5 homes. So we need to change our perspective, no doubt about it, because what we were doing in so-called training is not working there. And unfortunately, a lot of people have been out of work, basically. And with Chick-fil-A, what I'm amazed is just how the company had moved in. It was it was great food at first. We were going there. Listen, I'm probably one of those families that, we went there because it was good, and then it was better, and then it got better and better and better and better. The delivery, you saw that same franchise or that same restaurant that had a small parking lot by the next door one to give them more of a better service, as you just said. Everything's starting to hit now from everything you're saying to me, to the customer and the client, that's the guest that's going in there. So by doing this and expansion and providing that fast service, it's amazing. And I think we need to be doing this inside of our business. The personal thing I want to ask you is, how did God fit in with Mr. Mr. Cathy. When you walk in, there's a countenance that you feel inside that place. And maybe some of them are learning it as they go into Chick-fil-A. How do you blend that into the company?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a I'm glad to be able to answer that. So everything that we do at Chick-fil-A, matter of fact, the corporate purpose, if you go, is part of the corporate purpose is to glorify God. And so that's the same thing about being closed on Sunday, so that family members can go to church together, or maybe the ones who are not church. You get a day off, you get recharged. One of the things that I've always loved about Chick-fil-A, and I want to take this from a macro and then a micro standpoint, is when I go to the support center. We always start out with morning devotions. It's 8 o'clock. That's where everything starts. Morning devotions. And they're not afraid to talk about Christ or what the corporate purpose is. And that's from a macro standpoint. Bring that down to a micro standpoint for us here in Virginia Beach. My owner operator Brian Burnett is a very mature believer, good friend of mine. Met him in church, and we pray. We start our directors meetings with prayer every Monday morning. We start with prayer because this is our belief, and whether our audience today would believe that or maybe a little bit difference of opinion on what I'm about to say, but we believe that everything that we do should bring glory to God, and that we are nothing without Him. And we talk about that regularly. We pray that. We say, Lord, we are nothing without you. We pray James 1. I pray that every Monday morning with our restaurant directors. It says, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask, and it shall be given unto him. Now think about that. Who wouldn't want more wisdom in business? Who wouldn't want more wisdom in life? And so we bring our relationship with Christ into our business practices, and even the corporate mission of glorifying God. And I think that when you walk into our restaurants, you see people from diverse backgrounds. I mean, we hire people from diverse backgrounds because we just want to share the love of God. And how do we do that? By making people's life better. And we think about Jesus came to earth to not only give us eternal life, but he says to give his life and give it more abundantly. And so we stand on our Christian values, and we believe that is the reason that Chick-fil-A is where it is. You think about this, in 2023, the Chick-fil-A made almost $11 million per restaurant. The next highest competitor made $5.3 million. So doubled up the next competitor. You know what we have difference from our competitor? We're only open 6 days a week.
That's amazing.
You think about that. If it were to be 7, well, we know it won't be. I don't know if God would bless it if we were 7. But if you just do the averages up, it is a testament to the goodness and greatness of God that Chick-fil-A is where it is.
Gosh, I got to end on that because I don't want anything else to mess it up. It was such a well-stated position that I believe we need to do more of in our businesses and with our people. And what I like is the fact that, you're not saying, hey, I got to hire just Christians. You're just giving them an atmosphere and a culture that they can grow in, and you're loving on them. Basically, is what you're saying. You're loving on everybody. And this is fascinating to me. And I think it's something that hopefully you out there will take note of and be a part of that change in your culture. The last thing I want to ask you, Rob, and thank you so much for your time, is if you had to recommend a book to read to help people in developing themselves and developing their businesses. Anything that you've read last couple of years that you feel, hey, that's a great book, I'd like to share that?
Yeah, there's a couple. So if you're looking from a business perspective, obviously Jim Collins' Good to Great
Yep.
is a good one, and then Pete Scazzaro, The Emotionally Healthy Leader.
Healthy Leader by Pete Scazzaro.
Yeah, Pete Scazzaro is a little hard to say. Would be a highly recommended, because I believe that emotional health above anything else. So we talk about the five pillars of health: emotional, physical, mental, financial, and spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional health and emotional EQ and IQ will actually, I believe, the thing that moves the needle more than anything else.
Wow. Great stuff. Rob, thank you so much for taking time out and being on the Path to Pro stage here for us. And I'm sure a lot of people would have questions. If someone wanted to get a hold of you or wanted to get more information, where can they do that?
Yeah, they can do that on Instagram as @LeadershipRob. You can also on Facebook. You can friend request. You can DM me. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Rob Huffman, and I'll also, if you do that, we can just exchange emails. We can go to lunch. I would love to hook up with you, see how we can help you. I love relationships and learning new things. We could learn something from each other. They could probably reach out to you, Bill, and you could give that information as well.
Yeah.
Would be glad to see how we can help people, and how we can help organizations and individuals go further faster.
God, that's great. Well, Rob, thank you again, man. This has been a blessing to me and to the people that are listening. And we're going to get this out. And thank you again. And we'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
See you later. Bye-bye.